So welcome everybody, and welcome to the people online. Today's seminar, and we'll recite the prayer in a second, but today's seminar really, I think, is a favorite topic for many of us. The spirit world, the spirit world. What a wonderful topic to talk about the spirit world. So today we're going to have a journey to the spirit world because of the great teachings that Master's given us about the spirit world. But let's start by reciting the true words spoken by Buddha. Okay. And as I just said at the beginning, the reason why we can have these teachings on the spirit world and the existence of the spirit world is because Master Okawa attained enlightenment when he was just 24 years old and could actually see for himself what the spirit world looked like and could communicate with spirits in the other world. So without that enlightenment, it's really guesswork. I mean, of course, there's been many people in the past that have explained about the spirit world. Socrates spoke a bit about the spirit world. There's been many people spoke about it, but nobody ever clearly defined it as Master did through his teaching. So he published in total about 3,200 books, and all those books were really aimed at us knowing how to live in this world in a way that ensured that we would have a positive life, not just now, but in the world that follows this world. Since the other world definitely exists, and he guarantees 100% the other world exists, we want to make sure we live in a way in this world that ensures that we're happy now, but when we leave this world, we continue to be happy. That's why we're happy science, right? Science of happiness. Happiness now and happiness always into the future. So one of the key things about the spirit world that Master taught is this one simple phrase. There is the law of similar wavelength attraction. This is one of the main key points about the spirit world and understanding the spirit world. So how a person thinks and how they feel will make absolute reality to when they leave this world, or the conditions of what they'll experience when we go back to the other world. So for instance, Master teaches the importance of a practice of what he calls love that gives. The idea of wishing happiness on other people, on experiencing happiness when we see other people happy. This is really important because imagine that. Okay, so imagine we create a mindset where I just want other people to be happy. And when I see other people happy, I feel happy. And if I could do something to make other people happy, I will do it and make other people happy. Now imagine when I leave this world with this law of similar wavelength attraction, imagine if all the people around me are people who enjoy each other's happiness, people who enjoy making each other happy, people who enjoy seeing each other happy. If everybody's thinking like that, what sort of world is that? Now, this is a heaven. This is a heavenly world. Now, what about the state of mindset where a person lives their life absolutely for the happiness of others, give up all consideration for themselves, and live their life, even if they have to put themselves through difficulties and suffering, like Mother Teresa did, and they live their life really never considering themselves, but really considering the happiness of others and living for others and trying to alleviate the suffering of others? What sort of mindset would that be? Well, that would be the mind of an angel. So a person like that, when they got to the other world, all around them would only be the angels because they've got the same mindset of that. What about a person who likes to, maybe they enjoy causing suffering to another person, they don't mind hurting other people, or maybe they're a very violent sort of person? Then when this person leaves the other world, everybody around them has the same sort of mindset. So this idea of this law of similar wavelength attraction is really important to thinking about the sort of world we'll return to when we leave this world. See, this world is a training ground for souls. And what's different about this world is all the different souls from all these different wavelengths or dimensions, as we could call them, incarnate here into the same place. So that's why this world, in some ways, is such a difficult place to live, because there's so many different people with different ways of thinking, different from ourselves. I mean, in heaven, when we go back to the other world, we're going to go through this a bit more and looking at the different types of thinking in the other world. But if people have a similar mind to us in the other world, it's very easy to live there. People are agreeable. People are thinking the same way as I'm thinking. And of course, it's easier to live there. But in this world, which is a training ground or a school for our souls, we end up being with people who we don't always agree with and people who've got different ways of thinking. So there's many different, must have called them about dimensions, or we could call them realms or stages of love. So he must have here talked about ultimately, or in particularly, these 9 dimensions he spoke about. But he said each one of these can be broken down to 3 others, and each one of those can be broken down some more. So it's not like, boom, 1 dimension, 2 another, 3 another, 4 another, and with hard set, that's it. each one of those is even split down into more. But just to be able to understand it, we break them down quite simply into the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth dimension. Well, we're living in this three-dimensional world, which is the earth. Everything here has height, width, and depth. But beyond this world, the fourth dimension, that's the beginning of the spirit world. And that is the astral realm. The fourth dimension is really, even plants and animals, they have souls. They go to the fourth dimension. When people dream and they go to the other world and they see beautiful colors and beautiful trees, that's often a visit to the fourth dimension. People who don't believe in life after death, often when they die, will end up in the fourth dimension because they carry on living very much as if they're still living a life on earth. That's why it's really important for people to actually have faith and believe that they're not just a physical body, but they have a soul. And the fifth dimension is the realm for the good, which is really, as I was saying before, about the practice of love that gives, the fundamental love, wishing happiness on other people. That's the beginning of heaven. The fifth dimension is really the beginning of heaven. People there have woken up to the fact that, oh, I'm not just a body, I'm a spiritual being, I have a soul, and that loving other people feels good. The sixth dimension is the realm of teachers. They call it the realm of light, but it really is, once people have realized how much they enjoy giving love to each other, once people realize how they feel happy when they bring happiness to others, they realize, well, if I want to make others happy, I have to have something to offer. You know, it requires wisdom. Nurturing people requires wisdom. And so if people make an effort in their life to learn something, and it can be a lot of different fields, it doesn't have to be one specific area. It could be in medicine, it could be in art, it could be in music, it could be in the world of philosophy and religion. Something, when people have something that they can use to help other people and benefit their lives, they can enter the realm of the sixth dimension, or the realm of the teachers. Seventh dimension is the realm of the angels, and that is an altruistic type of love. It's the love of being able to forgive others because you recognize everybody has divine nature. Everybody has the same nature as God, but sometimes people make mistakes. Sometimes people live wrongly, and when people live wrongly and make mistakes, actually it's them that are suffering. So an angel doesn't see people who are living wrongly and think, I hate this person, I can never forgive this person. An angel would see that person and think, oh, this person has really got some difficulties. There must be a reason for those difficulties. What can I do to help that person? What can I do to help them change their mind and become happy? The eighth dimension is what we call the Tathagata, or the Nyorai realm, or the realm of the archangels, or the great angels. And this is great beings. Master said these beings no longer take on human form. They just become great balls of light or great balls of energy. And usually it's when we look back in history, we recognize who these people are. So people like Edison, or people like Nelson Mandela, or people like Lincoln, the greats of the world that have actually contributed to changing this world. Because from heaven, these great spirits see the earth and they see problems and they want to fix them. So they make a plan to come here to make a change. But it requires a lot of wisdom and a lot of energy to be able to bring a change to this earth. And the final realm there is the ninth dimension, which is the love of the Savior. And Master teaches there are 10 great saviors. At the very top, we have Alcantara, who's the God of the earth. But below the God of the earth, we have the consciousness of Jesus, Moses, Buddha, Confucius. And these are really like the highest spirits that are overseeing the earth. Okay. So that's one thing, is the most, as I mentioned just a second ago, was that the law of similar wavelength attraction. And that's why all these different beings that are in these different dimensions are there, because of the state of mind or the wavelength of their soul or the stage of love that they've reached. The second really important point about the spirit world is it's a world where thoughts become reality. So what we think will appear in front of us. So that's why it's so important to have faith and a belief in the life after death, because if a person doesn't believe in life after death and think when you die it all ends, then that's what they will create. And Master said, actually, for people who are really stubborn and really don't believe in life after death, often they create a bit of a cocoon around themselves, and it takes a lot, and they've just believed that it's like a cocoon, like in a cocoon, it's dark and it's motionless, because that's what they believe they will experience. So they start to experience what they believe they'll experience. So it's really important for us to be able to have an understanding of the truth and open up our minds to the prospect and the truth that there really is a world beyond this world. Okay, so as I said, Master's published so many books, about 3,150 or so, but from those books, there's 27 movies have been created. And one of the early movies that were created was a movie called Hermes, Love Blows Like the Wind. And in it, Hermes was visited by a couple of angels, and they were showing him around the spirit world. So I've taken a small excerpt of that, which is about 8 minutes long, and it shows what happens when these angels come and visit Hermes. And even though it's done in cartoon form, it depicts the truth, because it's very hard probably without having, these days we've got a lot of computer graphics that can be used to do some amazing things. But back when this movie was created, they certainly didn't have the computer graphics. So using a type of anime, this depicts what the spirit world is like. Okay, let's have a look of this, watching Hermes.
Hello, King Hermes.
It's you two. We've met before?
My name's Agape. I'm Pan, but we're really fairies. We were sent over here by the god Ophelius to help you. But you are going to have to look more deeply within yourself if you were to learn more about the spiritual world.
Oh yes, I see.
King Hermes, put on these sandals. That should help.
But these things are so small. I don't see how they will fit me.
Oh, stop worrying about it and just believe you can put them on. Don't think, just do it. Only then can everything start.
All right, I'll put them on.
You humans are always trying to think. Put the left foot on first. You make things so impossible. Don't think so much, just try them on.
It fits.
Well, of course. Now put the right one on.
They are perfect.
Click your heels together once.
Like this?
Oh! It's easy once you get used to it.
Oh.
Now you can go anywhere you want in the other world. We will show you around. Let's go!
Who is that down there? Is that me? But I'm up here, in the sky.
What you see down there is only your physical body. The sandals have helped your spiritual body to slip out.
So this is my spiritual body?
Oh, that's right! Come on, let's go!
Huh? What happened to me? Where am I?
Welcome to heaven! Well, technically it's just the gateway to heaven.
Huh?
Those are flower fairies.
Fairies?
That's right. There's a fairy in every flower. Just like a human, every flower has a soul inside. And it's that fairy that makes that particular flower bloom. Most people think that flowers bloom because the seasons change. But that's not the reason why. Each fairy decides the color and shape of its own flower, and they decide when it blooms. The flower fairies do their best to make this world a beautiful place.
Why does each fish have a golden fin? They look like they're glowing.
That's just their halo. When the fish return to heaven, their halos glow with joy and happiness. The same thing happens with human beings, too.
Ah, I see.
Humans have halos, too, when they are truly happy.
Everything in this world is new to me.
Hermes, you still don't fully understand everything. This is the real world. The world on Earth is just a reflection of this world.
But
Don't worry, you'll understand everything soon enough.
watch out!
No fear!
Ah! What's that?
Nothing has any substance in the spiritual world. You see those mountains over there? If you believe you can fly through the mountains, you can. If you wanted to, you could go right through them. But if you felt like climbing the mountain instead, you could just walk on the ground. See?
It seems that in this world, what you see isn't as important as what you think.
I think you're beginning to understand now, Hermes.
Mm-hmm.
Well then, let's move on. There's still so much more to see.
Ah, it's the most beautiful lake that I've ever seen.
You know, you can do whatever you like in this lake. You can swim or even walk on the water. Anything is possible.
I know.
See? What did I tell you? Why don't we try diving now?
Huh? You say diving? No!
It's a magical lake. The bottom of this lake is connected to every single ocean on the Earth.
So it just shows so many secrets about the spirit world. But when we really just imagine that we have a physical body now, we have a physical body, but we have a soul. And my soul is consciousness. And when I get to the other world, even though I have consciousness in a physical body and a soul at the moment, if I take away my physical body, I just have my consciousness and a light body. See, light's not affected by gravity. And light, even with our internet, okay, just to put a little technical thing into it, with our internet, with our high-speed internet that we have now, sound waves can't travel through each other, but light waves can. So on our internet, they have the light traveling both ways and it passes through itself. So light can pass through light with no problem. So with our high-speed internet, light travels both ways down the signal and it's not affected. But so in the other world, we can pass through mountains because we're just light passing through light. I thought it was really great seeing that picture where Hermes and his friends were flying through the mountain and what it actually looked like. So the mountain has a physical body, but the mountain also has a spiritual body. As he said in here, he said that everything in this world is just a shadow of the real world. So everything exists here also exists in the other world. So great mountains, great lakes, great oceans, everything actually also exists in the other world, but in a spiritual form instead of a material form. when we start to just think of what that world's going to be like, and we're going to go there one day, all of us will go there one day. Isn't this a wonderful thing to think about? What a wonderful adventure it's going to be eventually when we get back to the spirit world and we can fly around. It takes a while to get used to the conditions there, which we're going to see a little bit more here shortly. Because just as like a baby when it's born into this world has to get used to the conditions of this world, it also takes a while when we get back to the other world to get used to the conditions back in the other world. But here, just a couple of things, points that we saw there. The sandals were very small, and he was told, just believe you can do it. So, you know, the teachings in Happy Science and many other places is that thoughts create your reality. If you believe something, it will happen. So the first thing is just to believe. And they told him, stop doubting, just believe, and you can do it. And in the other world, it's really definitely that matter. As soon as you believe something, it becomes possible. We saw the picture of his spiritual body leaving this physical body. So it looked the same, and then he looked down, but he saw where he left behind, there was actually a spiritual body sitting there. So it wasn't like his physical body was flying through the air. His spiritual body, which looked the same as his soul, which looked the same as his physical body, had left his physical body and was now going back to the spirit world. They visited the astral realm. They said, this is a place, but he said, oh, this is heaven. They said, well, actually, it's a doorway to heaven. So as we saw at the very beginning, there was a picture. We saw the three-dimensional world, and in the fourth dimension, which was the astral realm. The astral realm is very close to this earthly vibration, but it's the spirit world. It's the beginning of the spirit world. And as I said before, the fifth dimension really is the beginning of heaven. So the fourth dimension is really just a realm of spiritual energy, and where plants go, animals go, fish go. People who don't have a belief in spirituality tend to live there as well. But it's very beautiful and very colorful. Master said, and here he said, every flower has a fairy. I mean, who believes in fairies, you know? I mean, they're actually real, you know? And actually that, if we think about it, the tale of fairies, they talk of fairy tales, but the talking of fairies through all different cultures has been there for a long time. Now, why do we have these stories of fairies? Some people even see fairies in the garden. But to hear this explanation that every flower has a fairy, and the fairy is responsible for the flowering of the fairy, and the fairies just want to make this world more beautiful. It's given me a whole new admiration of flowers when I look at flowers, to realize behind that flower, we're looking at the flower, but behind the flower, there's actually a spiritual being of the fairy. So I think too, when flowers are brought into the temple here, sometimes people don't like cutting flowers, but you know, flowers, even if they're left outside, are going to wither and die. And I figure when the flowers are cut and put inside your house and admired, I imagine the fairies are really happy with that, because they're actually adding beauty to your house or adding beauty to the temple. So I figure if we respect the flowers and appreciate the flowers, that the fairies would be quite happy. And plants and animals also have souls. Actually, you know, everything that's ever lived has a soul. So even the things that are now extinct on Earth actually still exist in the spirit world. So if we think back to the time of the dinosaurs, you know, these great big things, well, they had souls as well. So in the spirit world, if you really wanted to see dinosaurs, I'm sure there's a place you could go to see dinosaurs. In here, he suggested the spirit world is the real world, and the world on Earth is a reflection of the real world. We can fly through mountains, which we're talking about. This is also the interesting point. We can either fly through the mountains or walk on the ground, depending on our thoughts. So if we think, oh, I'm walking on the ground, that's what we will do. We will walk on the ground. If we think, oh, I'm flying through the air, then we can fly through the air. So everything is dependent on what we are thinking. Our thoughts are everything. What you think is most important. This is one of the keys. Okay, there's another very short, only 2-minute excerpt now from another movie called The Laws of Eternity. These are 2 books that I really recommend. One of them is called The Laws of Eternity, and there's a movie called The Laws of Eternity, which this is going to be an excerpt out. This talks about all the dimensions. But today's talk, a lot of it is on Master's book called My Journey Through the Spirit World. And it's a real great account of what he explored, what he found, his experience in the spirit world. And towards the back, and we'll cover a little bit of it later on today, is some Q&A. From question and answers from people where they were asking Master about it. And we'll have a few of those, but I really, really recommend getting these books. Okay, so this 2-minute one was really about when these people just arrive and, you know, it just said, what you think is most important. This is showing how important our thoughts are in the other world. How really living in this life now, we really should learn to control our thoughts and not allow ourselves to, for instance, get angry at times. So let's have a look.
I've had enough. I don't want to be in this eerie place. I'm going back.
Patrick,
But how do you think you are going back?
I can't believe this is happening. I don't understand it. How could we come all the way here without knowing how to get back home?
Just calm down, Patrick.
Calm down. It's easy for you to say, joke face.
This is the way I always look. So why don't you just shut up, all right?
What did you say? What's going on?
You are...
I am God Eagle.
Thank you so much, God Eagle. You saved us.
The spirit world is a world of the mind. When your mind is disturbed, you inevitably fall down to an appropriate world.
You mean by that? Are you talking about the world of hell?
God Eagle, where are we?
In the fourth dimensional posthumous realm, where people who have just died come and experience the surprise that they are spiritual beings. Here, they are able to realize and get used to that state.
so do all deceased people end up here?
No, first they go to a particular place, and then they come to this town.
A particular place?
Would you like to go there?
Yes.
So these
If
two
we
guys,
may.
just to give a background on there, these people had been to a museum, and it was an Edison museum. It's in the future, and Edison had spoke about creating a spirit phone where he could communicate with the spirit world. And these kids made one, and they actually managed to travel to the spirit world. And they've just arrived there, and they get there, and then these two kids, they start having an argument. One's bashing the other one about how he looks. He says, what do you talk? I always look like this. So basically their thoughts got negative. They got really angry about each other. And then suddenly the ground they were standing on, suddenly a hole opened up and they started to fall. We just understand that everything is about in the other world, like we we're talking about before, the wavelength of the mind. If we've got a calm, peaceful mind, then the environment around us will be a manifestation or reflection of that. If we create a negative state of mind with some sort of anger like they had, then suddenly our environment can change. Yeah. So, and I don't know if you actually also noticed, I'm going to try and do it without pressing pause. I'll just go back here. And so you noticed in that picture there, can you see how the buildings seem to overlap each other? So Master Okawa said, once we get back to the spirit world, one of the most interesting things that takes a little while to get accustomed to is, now we spoke before about the three-dimensional world, which we live in here in the fourth dimension, which is the beginning of the spirit world. The new element that's added in the spirit world is time. Okay, so in this world, everything has height, width, and depth, right? That's what makes it 3 dimensions. I mean, a piece of paper is 2-dimensional, and a straight line is 1-dimensional. So every time we move up a dimension, we add something. So a straight line, piece of paper is 2. This world is 3-dimensional, and the spirit world is the 4th dimension, and the new element is added as time. So Master Okawa said, once we get back there, we can look at where there might have been a building in the past that's been torn down, and then a new building has been put in its place. But when we look, it appears like both of those buildings seem to exist in the same place at the same time, which is impossible in this world. You can only have one building in the same place at the same time. But in the other world, because it existed in the past and it existed and that was gone and now a new one's put in its place, they both appear to exist. But whichever building we put our focus on is the building that will come into our reality. So if we focused on the old building, that's the one that would appear and we could go into it and walk around and see everything in that old building. If we put our focus into the new building, that's the one we would see. It sounds really mystical, but this is just what we have to get used to once we get back to the other world. Okay, I'm just going to move forward to there. So in here, the key was that the astral realm is the 4th dimension, which is the realm which is just above this 3-dimensional world. And it was their negative thoughts that nearly caused them to fall to a lower place. Okay, so as I said, that was just the 4th dimension, but now we're going to have a look at the really beginning of heaven. Let's have a look at what happens when they move up from this astral realm and they move into the 5th dimensional realm. And this is just about 3 minutes long.
Oh, it feels so nice here. So, is this heaven?
This is the fifth dimension, realm of the good. It is a part of heaven.
Fifth dimension realm of the good?
Let's go over to that town.
It's gonna be a long walk.
Why don't we fly there? Come.
What? Do you mean us too?
The spirit world is all about thoughts. You can fly if you think of flying.
Look! Yuko's flying!
I know. You have to visualize you're flying.
Visualize. Okay.
Wow!
Well done for the first time. Parts of the people in the fifth dimension, realm of the good, are filled with thoughts like gratitude toward what's given and the joy of doing things for others. There's the town.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's all because of your What's that light?
These people don't feel like asking for anything in return. But whenever their gratitude reaches someone, a warm light appears to show happiness.
We feel the same way on Earth, don't we?
You feel warm inside when you do something nice for others.
People who had a lot of those experiences will be able to come back to a beautiful world like this.
It's interesting, you know, in a way, you could think that the economy of heaven is like light. So in this world, we could say our economy is money. And if you do something and everybody's happy and they want more and more of it, then people spend money and we receive a lot of money. In the other world, the more things that you do that create gratitude, with people saying, thank you so much, oh, thank you very much, the more that gratitude actually we feel. So in the other world, gratitude is something that we actually feel. So in the movie here, it had the beginning of heaven is the fifth dimension. And this is really the practicing of fundamental love as taught in Happy Sign, which means love that gives, doing things for others without expecting anything back, and also feeling gratitude to others for everything, and also gratitude to God, gratitude for everything that we are given. I mean, now when we think about our lives, it feels like we keep ourselves alive every day because we eat. I ate this morning. I had some lunch made from Atsuko. It was beautiful. I'm really thankful to Atsuko for the beautiful lunch. And so we feel like we're keeping ourselves alive by we're eating and sleeping and drinking and doing all the things we need. But, you know, really all we're doing is keeping our body alive. We are keeping our body alive, our physical body alive by what we eat. What keeps us truly alive is the energy we receive from God. The soul, our soul, because even if my body died, as we're seeing here, my soul would continue to exist. When I get back to the other world, I'm going to have a soul that lives without needing to eat. I can live without eating. I don't need anything. What enables me to live is the energy that I receive from God. Now, we learned in Happy Science that, you know, ultimately the God's the primordial God that creates the universe and everything else. But our sun itself has got a great consciousness that's part of God that supplies an energy. So we get the spiritual sun, the physical sun, but there's also a spiritual sun. The spiritual energy that we receive keeps us alive. So really there's a great reason every day that we should feel grateful for just being alive, not just because of the food I eat, but because actually I have this energy in my soul that enables my soul to live every day. So this is the one thing that everybody in the fifth dimension realizes: I'm a spiritual being, not just a physical being. And that's, if they don't believe that, then they couldn't fly. You have to be able to believe, oh, I'm a spiritual being and I can fly just by imagining it. And then here they showed that by having gratitude and receiving gratitude is what caused people to have a halos. And the higher up the dimensions people go, really, is the more things they've been able to do to be able to bring happiness to other people. So you imagine somebody like a great spirit, someone like Jesus, you know, how much gratitude, how much love there is to Jesus for all that he did, or someone like Buddha. So these beings, they receive an enormous amount of gratitude from the people who love them. Okay, that was the fifth dimension. I'm going to jump the sixth dimension because I spoke a little bit about it before. That's really the dimension of teachers. So as we realize that I feel happy when I bring happiness to others, the sixth dimension is when we actually really make an effort to learn something, to be able to help others and benefit others. But I'm going to move into the next dimension, which is the seventh dimension, which is the realm of the angels. And I really want to show this. This is an amazing excerpt because all of us are destined to become angels. Right, our goal, we have a seed of God within us, and that seed has got the same, just as like a great oak tree, when it drops an acorn, and that acorn starts to grow. What's the difference between an acorn, an oak tree that's grown from the acorn that's that big, and a huge almighty oak tree? What is the difference? Right, it's really no difference except for time, over time and development. That there's no reason why that acorn cannot become a great, magnificent oak tree. In the same way, each one of us has got the seed of God within us with the same attributes as God. We want to become like God, which is light and love and goodness and all the wonderful attributes of God. We want to become more and more like that. As we become more and more like that, we feel happier and happier and happier because we feel we are becoming our true self. It's also about feeling of oneness with everybody because everybody is connected. So in this here, this is a really magnificent excerpt to show. They get to Sim's gate, and I've got to laugh at the beginning because it's this huge, great gate. And he says, this is called the narrow gate. And he says, well, it looks big enough to me. Why is it called the narrow gate? And he said, well, it's the narrow gate because very few people can pass through it. You have to have the mind of an angel to enter into this realm. And then it shows them they're given some tasks to check whether they've got the mind of an angel. And at the end, when they come back, we can see who can pass into the angel's realm and who can't. Let's have a look.
This is the narrow gate, or so it is called.
Why? I mean, the gate looks big enough to me.
So it may seem, but in reality, not that many can go through it. Behind this gate is the seventh dimension, Bodhisattva realm. However, only those who possess the prerequisites of an angel can reach that stage.
Prerequisites of an angel?
Actually, from now on, you will all be given a task to accomplish. Each one of you will have to heal and cure 10 ill people.
That's the test to joining the angels. Well, isn't that right?
I'm good at taking care of people, because I've always been looking after my grandfather.
Let's do it.
Up to the angels' world we go.
Ruta!
We're back.
What's going on?
Where are Ruta and Yuko?
They've gone to the Angels' world. The two of you should wait here.
What do you mean? Are you trying to tell us we failed the test?
But we have really done our best.
Indeed, you did a good job, but were your intentions pure?
Hey, this one isn't mine. Oops, I'm really sorry. My mistake. Oh, come on, I'm doing my best. I'm tired.
Now, we can enter the angels' world. I've done my best, so people should be thankful. I bet God will appreciate my effort.
Then how about Ruta and Yuko?
The two of them were different. They had absolutely no thoughts about being appreciated, or thoughts about being thanked. Helping others was natural for them. And that is the state of mind of an angel or a bodhisattva.
I think that scene is so cleverly done. You know, it really depicts, they did the same thing. They're helping people. They really did. They did their best to help the people. But what was going on inside the mind was a couple just doing what they could without any thoughts of you should be grateful or I'm doing my best. It was just pure love for wanting these other people to be better. And so it's not bad what the other people did, but it's just showing to get through into the realm of the angels, we have to have a really pure mind of pure love for other people without any thought about ourselves. You know, it's in Happy Science we learn it, and in Buddhism we learn about true self and false self, the ego and the true self. The true self is love itself. That's what I said about this, the seed of God within us. It's like this. It's like the sun. The sun shines its light every day on us and gives us all this energy. Does the sun ever ask for any thanks? And it doesn't matter whether this person's a saint or a murderer. It gives them exactly the same sun in the hope that that person will develop one day and become happy. You know, just exactly the same energy, always pouring that out, pouring out. Even if people don't have gratitude to the sun just keeps pouring the same love out every day. So for ourselves, though, we have this true self, which really wants to be like the sun. It just wants to make other people happy. And we're so happy when we just live our life doing what we can for other people. And then there's the ego self, which really thinks about what other people think about me, what people are saying about me, how I look to others, and what people should think about me. These are the two selves we have. So the false self is created when we enter this physical body and we start to associate with, this is me. But the true self is always there, just waiting to be discovered. And that's really a whole life of the soul training, is about trying to discover this true self and remove the false self. Yeah, so I think that was just so well depicted, that the way that showed the difference in thought. Okay, so I love the put when he said outside of the gates, it's the narrow gate. And it's the narrow gate because very few people can actually live their lives with pure hearts, pure love like they were. And they were given the task, and two couldn't pass, but two could. And the difference of purity of mind or altruism. So, you know, that's why in Happy Science, we practice the fourfold path of love, trying to have pure love, wisdom, which is to know the truth about the other world, to know the truth about my true self and my false self and what to look for, and self-reflection. Self-reflection. So each day we should, at some stage, think about, how did I think today? What did I say today? Was I aiming to practice love that gives, or did I have some sort of expectations? And the progress means the more that we can live that way, the happier we become and the better our lives become in every way. Our relationships, and in our work, and in our friendships, and how we feel about ourselves, and also when we leave this world, how we're going to find ourselves. Okay, this is a very short excerpt which really follows on from what we just saw here, and it's back to really what we saw at the scene at the beginning. What happens now here's these guys, they're standing out the side of the gates of the seventh dimension, outside the gates of the angels realm. Now let's see what happens when they start getting upset by the fact that they couldn't get into the angels realm. You know, remember, this whole thing's about what we're thinking in our mind in the other world is everything.
Ruta and Yuko went through to the angels realm.
But we failed, right, Patrick?
What is so funny about that? You don't remember we were a team, do you? How come it's only Ruta and Yuko that get to go through and we can't? Don't get me wrong, it's not that I really want to go to the angels realm, but it just annoys me that those two are so special and we're not.
That's true. Why is it only them two? We went through all that trouble, and now we can't even meet Edison.
Yeah, and without my sensors, there was no way they could have gotten that phone to work in the first place.
Hey, you're right. This is unfair.
Perhaps God isn't fair after all.
Yeah. Where are we?
Could this be hell?
Oh, why? It's just not fair.
Can I help you? Who are you? A lot of people get lost around here, just like you did. I guess you could say my job is to help get them back on track.
We're saved.
We just want to get back to our own world, okay?
Don't worry yourselves. Just follow me.
Yeah, it cracks me up, the statement, oh, we're saved. So basically, just by their way of thinking, they became so negative. And also this does happen too, when you get a couple of people, one gets negative and it feeds the other one, they add to that negativity, and it goes backwards and forwards, and the negative builds, and suddenly, boof, they crashed. Tian Tai Chi, a Buddhist monk, he had a beautiful, famous saying, it's one thought leads to 3,000 worlds. So it's like in the spirit world, there's so many different types of worlds, which really means there's different ways of thinking. And any way of thinking, there's a world where there's going to be people gathered with that way of thinking. You know, some people say God's so bad because he created hell. Why did God create hell? God didn't create hell. God created human beings, and he gave us free will and the ability to think whatever we want, say whatever we want, do whatever we want. That's a free will. But there's consequences. There's the law of cause and effect. So when a huge numbers of people started to live wrongly and create negative ways of thinking, and when they died, naturally they went to a place that perfectly matched their way of thinking. When we got a large numbers of people all thinking negatively in a big group, it started to create clouds that blocked the sun or light from God. So it wasn't God who created hell. It was because God created a condition where humans actually able to create hell. But here's this beautiful thing, is that really it's all just a part of the plan for humans to realize what is the right way of thinking, what's the wrong way of thinking, and realize that one brings me happiness, one brings me unhappiness, and have the discipline and the control to, I want to think this way, I'm going to think this way, I can think whatever way I like, but because I know this leads to this way and this leads to this way, I choose this way. And that's really the ultimate goal for God, for all our souls to be headed in the right direction. It's like when children are young, you know, if they learn, they're playing with matches, and the parents might tell them and take the matches off them, but it's only eventually when the kids burn themselves that they realize why you shouldn't play with matches. So we as souls, we really need to learn why we need to be thinking the right way. You can't just be told, don't think like this. You know, there's the 10 Commandments in Moses' teaching, but just telling people how to think, it doesn't work. So God's created this wonderful system whereby there's the law of cause and effect. There's a desire in all of us to be happy, and we're given the free will. And so over time, we discover what makes us happy. And ultimately, what makes us happy is when we're giving love and when we're making other people happy, because we're actually all connected. I mean, at the deepest level, I seem to have a body with my right hand and my left hand. And, you know, if my left hand's hurting, my right hand will naturally do whatever it takes to take the pain away from my left hand. And we're all as connected, just as connected. We are all connected to each other, just as my left hand and my right hand are in my body. But the difference is we just don't recognize that yet. Okay, so here's just some very interesting truths I want to go through. I picked out a few truths. There were so much wonderful things in this book, and I just wanted to put some of these out there, because the more that we know about the spirit world, the better. Here we go. Souls travel to the spirit world during sleep. So when we sleep, our souls actually leave our body and we actually go to the spirit world and we receive spiritual energy. Sometimes people have memories. They might remember something really, really beautiful, or sometimes people might have a nightmare that could actually be a trip to the hell realm. Sometimes people have deja vu. Because in the other world, time is different. We can sometimes see an event that might happen in the future, and later on we have deja vu. Well, that might be because we actually saw something in our dream or in our sleep. We may not remember it, but through the deja vu, we're thinking, I've been here before. The silver cord links the body to the soul. So we have a silver cord that's connected to our head. When our soul leaves our body and goes back to the spirit world, it stays connected to our body by a silver cord. If someone comes and wakes us up, immediately the soul, it comes back to the body and we're awake again. So the soul won't just suddenly get lost and not be able to find its body again because it stays connected. It's like an umbilical cord, but it's a silver cord. It can stretch endlessly and infinitely. But Master said, the further away the soul is from the body, the thinner it becomes. It can get down to like a spider web's thinness, or it can be quite thick as a cord. And this is a very short excerpt. This is showing the silver cord, what the silver cord looks like.
Actually, you've already died.
You're lying. Look at me. Can't you see that I'm alive?
Okay, now just let me take your pulse. You don't have a pulse. You know what that means.
A lot of people on Earth panic when they pass away and become a spirit. Some don't believe their death and cling on to the place they died or their families and cause a lot of trouble. It is also the work of angels to convince those people.
Yeah, so that's an important thing. You know, if you study happy science teachings and we learn the truth, it could be a mission when you get back to the spirit world is to convince people who've died that they're dead. Now that one there, what was interesting was we could see the silver cord and it was still with the body. So Master said when a person dies, it takes about 24 hours for the silver cord to be detached. So even though when we dream, our souls leave and we've got the silver cord, but even when a person dies, the silver cord is still attached to the body for around about 24 hours. And the person's only ever dead once that silver cord is cut. Once the silver cord is cut, the soul cannot go back to the physical body anymore. So here we go. Just as in heaven there are many dimensions, so does hell. So we've been talking about different stages or different dimensions in the spirit world of heaven. Also, so does hell. Predominantly greed, anger, foolishness. These are the types of realms that there are there. Objects can also travel to the spirit world, such as museums and artworks. So if there's a museum that was built by a good curator and the museum itself has got a wonderful vibration with beautiful works of art in there, that itself can be seen in the spirit world in a particular place that matches the vibration of that museum. And heavenly work will appear in there, but the hellish work wouldn't. So if there's a museum where there was some beautiful heavenly artwork, but there's also some hellish artwork, in there might be the heavenly work, but the actually hellish artwork doesn't appear because it has a vibration. Changes in this world and the spirit world are closely linked. I found this really interesting. So Master Okawa said, as our world is progressing now, and we have things like planes and trains and all, and cars, all these sorts of things, these sorts of things also show up in the spirit world. Now, this is predominantly in the fifth dimension where people are more sort of connected to the way of thinking of this world. So we can fly. We don't need a plane or we don't need a car. But sometimes people like to use these things. And because it can appear if we think of it, all we have to do is think of it and it can appear, right? So because if people in this world have invented things, once we get back to the other world, these things are also showing up there. Humans can regress to animals and animals can evolve to humans. So if a person creates a mindset that's closer to, say, a dog, you know, a dog might run in and snatch food and run away. A person that's a bag snatcher who lives their life stealing from people, snatching bags, running away, has actually got a mindset might be closer to that of a dog than of a human. It might find itself actually incarnate as a dog. On the other hand, animals that work hard and become close to humans. I mean, some dogs can become almost human-like. They can't talk because they don't have the vocal cords, but they're almost like animals. I think you had a dog like that, John. They're almost like humans with their understanding and their emotions. So, and especially dogs like seeing eye dogs, they do so much and become so close to humans that actually they can enter the stage and eventually evolve and become a human. And this is the goal. The goal is the evolution of souls, eternally evolving. So Now, Happy Science, Master said in here, he spoke to his father. His father had passed away, and his father was talking about how in the fifth dimension and others, they're building Happy Science temples. And his father was complaining to Master that we've got lots of seminars here in Happy Science in this world, but there weren't enough seminars for people in the spirit world because the seminars would be a little bit different. And Master Okawa advised him, well, at the moment, with the work we're doing, it's really important on this earth, so we might have to wait 10 or 20 years, equivalent time, before we've got seminars created for the spirit world. But so we're also having, when we get back to the other world, we also are able to study the truth. So Master said here, believing in a religion during your life in this world ensures you return to the spirit world that belongs to your choice of faith. Now, in the world today, we've got some people in certain religions that believe this is the only way. Actually, Rumi and Ryoko were at the Parramatta Market last night, and they happened to be next door to a Muslim stand. So we're spreading Happy Science, and they were spreading the Muslim teaching. And Happy Science, we believe all the teachings come from one God. Ultimately, the God of Christianity is the same as the God of Islam. It's the same as Al-Kantari in Happy Science and Eternal Buddha in Buddhism. So there's one great God, but he sent many teachers. And because those teachers, the way they teach is a little different, we end up with different religions. And unfortunately, people have been fighting over the differences instead of looking for the common points. So once we get to the other world, say, for instance, and Muslims are good people. There's many good Muslims. There's many good Christians. A person who's a really strong Muslim and believes this is the only way and I can't relate to Christianity, and a Christian who believes, no, the only way to be saved is through Jesus, and the others are false. In the other world, even though they might both be in heaven, this is the heavenly world, they won't come into contact with each other because, like we're talking about, like attracts like, the similar wavelengths. If you've got a way of thinking that repels someone else, you two can't come into contact. So you could have a Christian in heaven and Muslims in heaven, and they never come into contact with each other. So just as there's up and down, there's also the separation this way. So what Happy Science is aiming to do is to bridge all of that. We want to help people understand that, look, we are all one. We're all connected. There's one God. We believe the different teachings. They all come from the same source. Let's just try to learn from each other, Ryoko actually ended up last night saying, okay, yeah, look, I believe in Allah is the same as Al-Kantari. I'll take some of your information. I'm happy to learn. And then she said, oh, would you like one of our books? He said, no, thanks. No, I don't want that. So she said, well, I'm willing to learn, but you're not willing to learn both. It's not going both ways. So here's a key thing. This is a Buddhist teaching too. Our attachments impede our transition to the other world. When we go back to the other world, our attachments in this world is what really stop us from going up. It's like the weight to the soul. It adds weight to our soul. So it's really important to remove attachments. Here's another interesting. Organ transplant can lead to possession. Now in here, Master Okawa said he's not fully against organ transplant. He's not saying don't do it. But the most important thing is, A, the person who is giving the organ has a belief and a faith in life after death and belief in the soul. If they believe that they're... See, some people die and they think, well, I'm just a body. When I die, it's all over. I don't need my organs. You can have them. You can take them out. So they believe when they die, it's all over, so you're not going to need them. Right. The problem there is that, like you said before, the cord, the silver cord is detached after about 24 hours. While the silver cord is still attached and our soul is still with that body, we can feel things because the outside of the spiritual body is the astral body. And the astral body is very closely connected to this physical body, and it even has the organs. Our organs also have a soul. So all of our organs is all connected. So any pain that's experienced by the physical body, even though it appears dead to be doctors, can be felt into the spiritual body while the cord is still connected. So if a person believes that they're going to die and then, doctors want to remove the organs out as quickly as possible, say it's a heart or a lung or a liver or whatever, as soon as the person's dead, they want to get it out while it's a live organ. That's the earlier the better for the doctor's perspective. If a person has died an hour or 2 hours earlier, they're dead. So, quick, let's get that heart out. And the person's soul is in the body saying, no, I'm still alive. What are you talking about? I'm alive. I'm here. And they think the doctors are making a big mistake, and they're watching or feeling their organs being taken out. This is not the way we want to return back to heaven, because we want to go back to heaven with a beautiful, calm mind, not one full of anguish. Yeah. So that's one thing. The second thing is the person receiving the organ also has to have faith in life, in belief, and have gratitude to the person that's receiving it. If the person doesn't have gratitude and the person who's given the organ is not happy with losing it, that can either lead to the organ being rejected, or because now the person who died their heart, say, or lung or whatever, has gone to the person here, and that because they still had the silver cord attached, that part of that soul is now connected to this body, and this person can feel the right to, well, I can be in this body. You know, why should I? You've got my heart. You're only alive because of me, so I'm going to live in this body now. So suddenly the person becomes possessed. So sometimes when people have received an organ, they start to change. They become a different person, and that's because they're being influenced by or possessed pretty much by the soul of the other person. So I thought that was a really interesting, fact. And he said the soul retains the symptoms of physical body at the time of death for a period of 1 or 2 days after death. So if a person dies in hospital with all the tubes and everything in them and a lot of pain, it takes a couple of days for them to be alleviated and for them to lose that, get away from that pain. Okay, and here's just a couple of main points. In Buddhism, 2,500 years ago, Shakyamuni Buddha, the reason why he was seeking the truth and why he went seeking enlightenment was because of the questions of birth, aging, illness, and death. He saw people were born, people died, people were aging, and there was illness, and people were suffering, and he wanted to know why. What's the reason? What's the purpose behind this? And that's when he went seeking enlightenment. And eventually he found the enlightenment and discovered that actually through getting rid of all of our attachments, and basically it comes down to recognizing oneself as a spiritual being and not the physical being, and understanding why we're born on this earth, then he could alleviate all the suffering. And Master said, he said in his book, to overcome the 8 pains, it is crucial that we adopt a spiritual view of life and perceive this world from the perspective of the real world of the afterlife. And that's really what today's seminar is about. Is I think everybody here had some degree of faith before coming here, but every day we need to remind ourselves of the truth that I'm a physical being, but the essence of my true self is my soul, and the core of my soul is my mind. This world's just a temporary place I've come to train my soul. It's a school for my soul. And what I'm aiming to do is to discover my true self and try and discard my false self, which is my ego, to be able to live as a person who's full of love, giving love, bringing happiness to other people, and think about, how can I develop myself in this world? How can I live the most purposeful life in this world that's going to make me happy now, but it's going to, when I transit to the other world, it's going to give me the best results. Yeah, so Buddha said birth, aging, illness, and death. You'll notice here it says to overcome the 8 pains. Master elaborated on the original 4 pains of Buddha, which is birth, aging, illness, and death. He said, well, actually, if we break it down, we can see there's 8 pains, because the other 4 are meeting people you dislike. All of us in our life, whether it be at work or somewhere on the streets or on the train or somewhere, we're always going to bump into people that we don't like. And that's, as we've discussed today, that's because in this world, there's all these different souls from all these different places in the spirit world come here for their soul training. So there's always going to be people that we don't get along with in this world. And we would never have had to meet them if we're in the other world. And separating from people we love. All of us at some stage, even if it's just a friend's going overseas, or we're in a relationship and we break up, or someone dies, we always have to leave and separate from people we love. That's another pain that we experience. We cannot get away from this world. Not being able to get all you want. We can never get all we want. There's always going to be things we want that we cannot have. And the 8th one was that the suffering is caused by the desire that flows through our 5 senses. So we have these desires, whether it be food or all sorts of things, and these create suffering because we never get enough. But the recognizing that they are actually part of something we can't get away from in this world, but we can accept them for what they are and realize that they're all there for a higher purpose. So they don't become our life. We see them for what they are. Oh yes, we're born. Actually, in here, Master talks about, why do babies cry when they're born? When a baby cries, when the baby's born, they cry. And he spoke about, why does that happen? Well, it's actually out of a sense of relief, because the soul left the beautiful heaven. And he does explain also that the soul enters the body of a baby at about 9 weeks. So we've already made a plan with our parents. Will you be my mother? Will you be my father? Yes. Well, let's try and create an ideal family. Let's do the best we can. And we've already got ties. Often we've got karmic ties with these people. That's why we're born to these families. But we make a promise. Yes, we'll create a family together. And so then the mother gets pregnant. And at about 9 weeks, when the baby started to develop, at the 9-week point, the soul reaches a point. Now it's in heaven, and it's in the spirit world or whatever dimension it's in, and it's ready to go. And the day comes, and Master said, it's such it's a scary moment for the soul, because it's leaving heaven, it's coming to earth. It knows it could make a mistake. You know, any one of us could stuff up and live a wrong life and end up in hell. It happens. And we're going from this beautiful world of freedom into this world of restriction. And he said, it's like jumping off a cliff. It's like you have to have the courage to jump off the cliff, leave that world. You come down here, and then that soul enters into the lady's womb at about 9 weeks. And then we live in all that constraint and that confinement for all that time until we're born. And even being born, there's no guarantee. In today's world, there's a lot of abortions and things like that. So we don't even know if it's actually going to be successful to be born. So finally, after all that time, and when we come out as a baby, the baby cries because it's so relieved that actually I've survived, and now I'm born into this world and I've got a chance for my life. Yeah. So there's so many things. I really do suggest to get a copy of this book. And the more we understand the spirit world and feel it as our truth, the more wonderful this life becomes. We don't have attachments when we realize, oh, this is a temporary place. I'm only going to live till I'm 80 or 90 years old, and then I'm going back to the real world. And master teachers will live on average 400 or 500 years in the spirit world before coming back here again. At the moment, a lot of souls are trying to come here because, of course, if you think about 400 or 500 years ago when we lived, it would have been much slower pace of life, much less to learn. But in today's world, there's so much happening. A soul can get so much experience that there's actually many souls that have sped up their incarnation. So instead of being 400 or 500 years, some souls are coming back quite quickly because they want to make the most of this particular time and experience so much. Anyway, that is today's talk on a journey to the spirit world. Hopefully we can feel a little bit more connected to our soul and you know, recognize this world's just a temporary place. Let's not get hung up on anything. Nothing really matters. Actually, nothing really matters but what we think. That's the only thing that matters. And literally, it's what matters. Thanks very much, everybody.